My guest today hails from Michigan and had one of my favorite songs of 2019, Misery, and now has another great song we just added to the EHM New Music, Been Let Down. Please welcome to our virtual studio today, Jason Singer, Michigander. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for doing this. I have to
Sure.
say, I was getting ready for this interview, and I find it interesting when I find interviews from January of this year, and every artist is talking about their big plans for 2020. And it's almost sad and funny at the same time because I'm like, no one has a clue what's coming their way. And I found one with you, and you were talking about touring and new music, and I was thinking, all right, I feel like he's probably accomplished a lot of what he set out to do, but probably not in the way you expected. How has your 2020 been since
Well,
then?
yeah, it's been super odd. I mean, obviously for everybody, but I felt like we were going to be on the road more than we've ever been on the road and playing a lot more shows and visiting a lot more people. And it obviously changed. And I mean, it's a little jarring at first. And every once in a while, we get to do like these little like socially distanced events and all that stuff. We get to play a show this Friday in Chicago, like a drive-in. But like, it's so weird, and I feel like I'm wondering if like this is what like bands feel like when they go on hiatus. Like they're not touring or anything. So I maybe I'm just getting a glimpse of the future right now or
It,
something.
it's interesting. When did you put the song together, Let Down? Did you write that before the pandemic or during or?
Like January.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
wrote that in January, I think. Like or end of December, January kind of thing. And then like we started recording like a whole EP's worth of music like in the beginning of the year, and then it just all kind of got put on hold. And then we were trying to put out like an EP this year,
Yeah.
and we decided just to wait a little bit. And it's not done yet either. But yeah, it was written at like the beginning of this year, and I was thinking like this is the song we're gonna be playing at all the festivals, and like everyone's gonna love this one. And obviously that has changed big
How
time.
how have you been spending your time? Obviously, it's changed a little bit, and it feels like we're kind of a little bit in limbo right now.
Mhm.
But how take me through? Did you write a lot? Did you just kind of get away from it, or?
Yeah, at first I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have all this time that would never have any otherwise. I should just like write like the best songs I've ever written." And like that's what I tried to do. And I wrote a few like pretty. I wrote like a ton, and only like two of them were good. And
A lot of pressure though, because you do think that like, wow, I'm gonna make the best thing I've ever done. I've
yeah,
got all this time, and then all you want to do is just watch TV and be left alone for a little bit. And what
right, yeah.
you say?
Eventually, it went into like just being like everybody's on break. I never get to have a break. I'm gonna do other things. I'm gonna learn how to play video games, which I've never really done. And like that's the best way like to connect with my friends because we're all like far away and all that.
No, everyone deals with this differently. I'm curious. Let's go back a little bit. How long have you been playing music? When did you start thinking, "Hey, this is the career path that I want to take"?
I
Tell
think
me.
at like an early age was when I really decided like I want to do this. And then I don't think it was practical. Like I was practically taking like intentional steps towards it until like 2014.
Okay.
And then like things kind of got more serious. Like 2018 was really when things like music started to come out that I was like really proud of, and like people started coming to shows and like and all that stuff. And so I think 2018 was kind of like a turning point. And then yeah,
When did you know you said early on you started with music? What did you listen to? What inspired you to take the direction that you're taking with your sound?
I think it was like I was like whatever because I live in like a small town, and like I didn't get to go to shows like really ever, and I wasn't really aware of what was happening musically everywhere else. And so it was whatever I could get my hands on at the library.
Okay, yeah.
I'd go and I'd get CDs, and I'd burn the CDs. Right.
You hear that a lot. It's interesting what people don't realize that are actually in libraries, and
Yeah.
you can have access to, and then you
Yeah.
copy them and you feel like you're getting away with something. It's like yes, despite
Yeah.
the sticker that's like don't copy this. Um,
Right.
but that's interesting. What artists did you listen to?
Like there was a lot of John Mayer, a lot of Nora Jones, a lot of White Stripes, Coldplay, uh Death Cab, like whatever, like the most indie thing out there was like Nora Jones. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's not that mainstream or whatever. So,
Were you always writing at the time, or was it just like jotting ideas down? Or
yeah, I was writing a little bit with like friends, but nothing really good came for a while. I mean, some of these songs like that we still play that were like on an EP were like written in high school, and they kind of have taken a new form and all that stuff. So that's kind of neat. But I've always been sort of writing, but never really took it seriously until like a few years ago.
When did you start the Michigander project? And it was a solo project that's kind of evolved and changed.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird. I don't even know what it is. It is a solo project, like on paper, but there's a lot of people who are involved to make it happen. But like 2014, I started playing shows as Jason Singer, which is my name, and then I had friends with me, and they were playing too. And I just felt it was kind of weird when they said like, "What band you play in?" And they said Jason Singer. And I was like, "That's not really a band." And so I decided, me and my friend we decided like, no one's called themselves that. That could be neat. And so that's kind of where it went from. And we just called it that and rolled with it.
It is not easy being an artist that's just starting out and trying to stick with it. You see that a lot with a lot of local artists, and they're really talented that don't know what to do. They got a day job and they want to do this. But what was it like for you? And how did the breakthrough come through with record management and getting a hold of C3 and kind of seeing the change?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was I was always looking ahead. Like in high school, which is funny. This is like a funny thing to say now. Is I literally thought like I graduate in 2011. In 2013, I'm playing arenas. Like that's in my mind. Like ridiculous thinking. But I always was thinking like, how do I get like on that show? And then I'd be like, okay, I'm at this show. I'm at that promoter that would like get me to where I'm going, like the local promoter, the independent promoter, and the independent venue. And then I'd be like, oh, they have this like way they talk about things, and like management and agents. Like, well, maybe I need an agent if I want to get on that. I should be on tour, so I need to like open for bands. And so it's just like learning all about it by like necessity, and then just like reaching. And like I used to just send hundreds of emails like every month, just to any management, anybody that would listen and be like, this is my band, radio stations. I had no idea how anything worked. And I would just be like, hey, I have this song. I don't know. And some people would respond. And like, luckily, some people from C3 was like my dream company to work with. Like, I don't know why. It was just like something always like, man, they seem really cool. They have like good bands and they do good work. And so meeting people from there eventually was kind of like, whoa, a dream. And then like it took a long time of just like chatting with them over the years before something solidified. And yeah.
What's it like to have this solo project? And clearly it's changed. What's it
Mhm.
like to go from that to having all these different voices for input? It's got to be an experience for you. And how do you, I don't know, how do you adjust on the fly to that? Because ultimately you think to yourself, well, this is Jason Singer. I'm Michigander. Wait, but
Yeah,
clearly changed.
that's a tough question. It's something I'm still getting used to, but at the end of the day, I really appreciate like it's very nice having other people around that can like that are on your side. Like at the end of the day, no matter if we disagree on something or agree on
Yeah.
something, we're all on the same team. And the goal is to make like whatever music I'm making successful, whatever that may mean. Um, and so I think that it's been very helpful. And it's helpful that there's other people like with the same goals in mind, trying to push this whole project and whatever I'm doing forward. And that's cool. Like I've never had that before.
Yeah.
Like they're like friends, you know?
That it has to feel like you have support now, that you're not kind of alone.
Yeah,
You're
right.
constantly, all right, what now? I have to send all these emails out. I've got to do
Mhm.
this. Now you've got a team of people kind of advising you
Don't
with
have to
that.
book my own shows anymore, which is nice.
That has to be a nice feeling. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious. I've noticed that you put out a lot of EPs.
Mhm.
Have you wanted to put together a full length album? Is there an album somewhere that you're kind of keeping to put together and put out at the right time, or are you just kind of taking the EP route?
There's no album and that's even I mean there's always been like I've wanted to do it because I'm an album. That's how I consume music is
Yeah,
buy the vinyl, listen to it. Like I've always been that way. Is like listening to an album, mostly because probably of the library whole thing with
that's
me.
true. Yeah.
But there's no intentions to do a full length. I mean that is like a long term goal, but I want whenever it is ready and it's there, it needs to be like the best thing I've ever done. And I just don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm getting there, but I don't think I'm good enough to do it yet.
Do you think, because it sounds, and the stuff I know about you and researched and heard, it sounds like you're very hard on yourself. That you're that a song really has to, that you want to make sure you put out the best possible product, which is great.
Mhm.
But I'd imagine it's a little tough to try to get through. How has it been working with C3 now, where they're like, hey, we got to put this out? Is there's a little bit more pressure?
There's a little bit of pressure, but at the same time, it's still I haven't had to put out more than like six. Like this is like the first EP that I had was done. I was like, here's what I have, and they're like, yeah, we'll go with that. This one was like a process from start to finish with them, and like this next one that will be out next year. And I think it's the next stuff is my best work, and I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah.
I think it's just I felt a lot more pressure to get something done, and I'm hoping like all this time that I have off will buy me some time for like the next thing, you know. And so, but um, yeah, there's a little bit of pressure, but in a good way. I kind of work well under pressure, but if something sucks, I just can't. They're not gonna make me like do something I don't want to do, you know.
That's great, actually,
Yeah,
to have those type of people behind you. What's
definitely.
like you mentioned drive-in concerts. Have you done any yet, or I know you're doing some soon? Uh,
No, we did. We're doing with Mount Joy on Friday in Chicago. That'll be our first thing like that. We did like a live stream from Chicago at Lincoln Hall with Audio Tree a couple weeks ago, and then we actually got to play a very small wedding
okay.
recently. So those are like our only gigs we've had,
I'd
and
imagine. I'm curious what it's like to do a drive-in because there's no matter what it is, there's people, but there's this barrier of a car, so to speak.
yeah,
And I think a lot of musicians you hear they love that the energy of the crowd. I have to imagine it'll be a little bit different until you try it. Who knows?
yeah, I think it will be different. I do think that how they have it set up is like people are outside the cars in like they get a parking spot and
That's
like a
okay.
tailgating spot. So I
Okay.
think it is a little different, but it's gonna be weird. It might be weird, but I think that I'm most excited just to be on like a massive stage again, or
Yeah. Yeah.
which is very rare anyway to be on a big stage for us. But then having like my friends with me and we're just playing music, and that's like honestly why I started doing music is because I enjoyed it, and so just playing will be fun.
When did you start missing? Obviously, were looking to go out on tour. Is it tough seeing a calendar and having like a reminder pop up saying, "Hey, you're going to be in Chicago this weekend," and you're like, "Oh
Uh,
no." No.
yeah, I deleted everything for the rest of the year because I just assumed like if it needs to, all my notifications are off for that. But I doubt anything will happen this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seems like everything's more for the middle of 2021 at this point. Who knows?
yeah, that's how it's seeming. But yeah, that was very tough. Our last show was probably one of our biggest shows, and we opened for Bernie Sanders
Wow.
uh, in Michigan, and it was insane. And then like the next week, it was like, hey, everything's done, and you're like, that was an okay one to go out on.
Glad you had that moment. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that memory. What take me a little bit into your writing process, as
yeah.
far as because the songs are emotional. They've
Mhm.
got a lot of powerful. I mean, the song "Misery," it's such a powerful word, and "let down" and things of that nature. You kind of take a lot of serious words and make them sound not fun, but
Happy.
yes, yeah. It's an interesting. It's a talent to be able to take something that when you actually see the words, you're like, well, wow, that's pretty deep. That's intense, but it's to a poppy tune, so everyone kind of. What is that like for you? What is the writing process? How do you start a song? Where
I
does it?
think I think like that dynamic is maybe has been reflective of who I am. Like I I always have these like sad. I mean, everybody deals with like I'm not someone who deals like drastically with depression or anything, but I know a lot of people do. But I'm genuinely a happy person, but I just have to deal with those sad things in a way. And so I feel like that's kind of the way I do it. And as far as like writing it goes, I feel like I always start with the music. I don't have like a notebook or like full of lyrics, you know. Um, I wish I did, but I don't. That's not how I write. And it's just like I write these like beats and things, and then I like try to sing over top of them. These there's like one-liners in my phone that I'm like that's like a prompt, and I'll
Okay.
go off that, and then just kind of build from there. And sometimes I don't always know what the song is. That sounds very trite, but I don't always know what the song means, you know. So I will finish the song and be like, I don't know what that's about. And then later on, I'll be like, oh, that is what that's about. Or we'll be in rehearsal and we'll be playing it. I'll be like, whoa, that's what I
Now
meant.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And as weird as that sounds, like I've heard other artists say that. And I was like, that's bull. Like this, but I understand it a lot now.
That's interesting, and it's interesting to know that everyone comes up with their own meaning from it too. So
Yeah, definitely.
when they hear it, it'll mean something to them, certain words in certain moments
Mhm.
of their lives, I'd imagine. And that's kind of how what's great about music is that it is very therapeutic.
Right. Yeah.
Are you writing now, or do you take a break?
Um, I was not writing for a couple months or like a month or so, but now I'm kind of back in like this swing, and I was doing a couple co-writes, which I've never really done before for other people.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of in this zone where I'm like, I got all these ideas, and I have a couple like I wanted to maybe see if I could write any more for the next EP, but I don't think there's anything there. I think that project is done, and I think I'm very excited about it. But I'm looking ahead and trying to figure out like what's the vibe of like the next chapter. Every chapter has like a different. You can hear it like the first EP is like very not immature, but childlike. It's like this is all the stuff I wrote up to high school till now, and it's kind of like angsty or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next stuff is a more serious, like, and then this one is more like I've gotten. It's just a progression. Everything is a progression, and I feel like I had everything I needed to say in this little EP that'll come out next.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Since you are a Michigander, I have to ask you, best place to like, if someone is visiting the state, where should they go for like the best food, the experience to know what Michigan is all about? I have to ask. Being a New Yorker, I'm curious.
Detroit is the best food. I think Detroit has one of the best food scenes in the country. Not the best, but one of the
Yeah.
best. Yeah, at least in my experience.
What's it been like? Actually, I'm curious because you mentioned that. What's it been like to watch that city go through such difficult times and kind of rise again? Being from the state, it's got to be a lot of pride too, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, I don't live in Detroit. I live in
Yeah.
Kalamazoo, which is the opposite side. But I go there once or twice a month. But I remember like going there as a kid for like the games, like seeing the Tigers or whatever, see them lose, and then
Mets fan, I understand.
yeah, and then just over time it would be totally different, and like just the neighborhoods that we like would park our cars in and like were like I don't know, they were like sketchy or like
Yeah.
kind of coming around. And obviously there's a lot of problems that come along with it all, but it's genuinely on the up, which is cool.
Well, hopefully you will get you back on the road, even if it's drive-ins and all those shows in the near
Yeah.
future as that gets underway. Good luck with the record, the new EP. When do you think that'll come out?
I want to say spring.
Okay. So
Yeah.
2021. Very good. Well, we look to
Yeah.
do something down the road with you a little more, maybe an online show or whatever we can put together.
Yeah,
And
100%. Whatever you guys need.
I appreciate your time. We love the new song, and we're
Thank you.
fans here on Long Island. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and keep doing it. Stay safe, and thank you for being a guest today on EHM.
Of course. Thanks for caring about the tunes. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.